Hey guys, Toby Mathis here with Infinity Investing, and today we're going to be talking about how much money you should have put aside at certain ages. We're going to say 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, going on up, right? How much should I have put aside to know whether I'm ahead of the game or behind the game? Right? Should I be anxious? So, depending on where you are in life, this is either going to be good news or it's going to be a little bit of a wake up call. But that's neither here nor there. What we know is here's the rules that you could follow. Here's how you can plan to be successful. And even if it's later in life, you have plenty of time to get things set up and create a legacy. I don't care how old you are, you can still set something up in place to create a legacy that lives beyond you. And it's all about putting that plan in place. So let's talk about the planning. Number one, if you are making X amount of money per month, then I want you to use a very simple rule. It's called the 70-30 rule on what to do with your money. You want to live on 70% of your take home pay, whatever that may be. Even if you're getting some sort of government benefits or something like that, live off of 70%. What do you do with the other 30%? You break it into threes, right? So we're going to have a third, a third, a third. A third of it, which means 10% of your take home pay, you need to give it away. You need to do something for other people. I know that it may be that you are in a tight spot and you're saying, how does that work? I can just say that having reviewed tens of thousands of tax returns, and I'll just give you the insight. I'm a tax attorney. I work at a firm with about 400 people, and we do about 10,000 tax returns a year or greater than that, and we see who's successful over time. And what I've noticed consistently is that the wealthy do something differently than everybody else from a money standpoint, which is what we teach at the workshop, the Infinity Investing Workshop. But number two, they also tend to be givers. When you start looking and seeing, are they consistently giving? It's 9 out of 10 times the answer is yes. So I'm going to throw that in there. I'm going to say that if you are somebody who gives time instead of money, like, hey, I'll go donate time, I'll go work at a local charity, or I'm working at the local kitchen or something like that, fine. Then you don't have to give the money if you're given the time. But I would say just make it incorporated. So the 70-30 rule, again, 70% of the money that you bring home is what you live off of. That's what you pay your bills with. That's what you pay your credit card bills with and things like that. 10% of the money that you take home is going to go to giving. Another 10% is going to go towards paying down debt. And when I say pay down debt, that doesn't mean 10% of your take-home pay goes to debt. It means after you've paid all the bills, an additional 10% goes to pay down that debt. So if you have a credit card bill, that's part of your 70. The additional amount that you're paying to lower your debt and the total amount that you have owing to other parties is going to be an additional 10%, 10% of your take-home pay. So if you make $7,000 a month, $700 is going to go towards paying down the principal of whatever you owe. That's what we want to do. We want to knock it out over time. The last 10%. So remember, 70-30, that 30, the 1/3 of it is going to go towards giving it away, helping others. A third of it is going to go to additional amounts paid towards your principal on debt, paying off debt. And the last third is going to go right into your investment. In fact, that's the first money I would pay every month. As soon as you bring in dollars into your bank account, 10% should go right into an investment account. And the reason I say that is, in the words of Robert Kiyosaki, the rich do something very different than the poor. The rich earn money, invest it, and then spend what's left. The poor earn money, spend it, and invest what's left. Hopefully you notice the little difference there. Invest it first, spend it second. Make sure that you're putting that aside. So that's our 70-30 rule. 10% give it away, 10% pay additional towards debt, paying down principal, 10% goes straight into investing. Now, how much should you have put aside? I'm going to give you some very good rules to follow. The number one rule is have 6 months emergency fund. So whatever your expenses are, you just figure it out. Like, hey, if I'm somebody who's 30 years old, my expenses are probably considerably less than somebody who's 45, right? Somebody who's 45 may already have a larger family. They may be dealing, if they had children in their 20s, they're probably dealing with college and things like that. They probably have additional expenses, and they've just been on the earth a little bit longer, accumulating more stuff, generally speaking. But let's say that 30-year-old is spending $3,000 a month. Okay, then 6 months would be $18,000 in your investment account. I call it emergency fund, but it's being put aside to generate additional wealth. It's not just sitting there in cash. Don't like that. I don't like things sitting in cash, especially when you have inflation and you have the cost of goods running up. You're going to keep it in something liquid, though, in something that's very conservative. So you could be doing CDs, you could be doing bonds and getting hardly anything, or you could just be in an ETF on the broader market or something along those lines. But that's where your emergency fund is sitting. It's about 6 months. So again, if you're making $3,000 a month, 6 times 3, 18,000 sitting in an account. If you're spending a lot more, let's say you're spending $6,000 a month, then 6 times 6, 36. That's what you'd have put aside. Now, here's a really easy rule of thumb. And if you follow this rule of thumb, it's doubtful you'll ever have any issues. You ready? It's so simple. You're going to say, I should have had a V8, right? If you even know what that is, maybe you'd have to be a little bit older to know what I'm even referring to, right? Great commercials back in the 80s and 90s, right? But the idea is really, really simple. For every year of age you have, so if you're 20 years old, that's how much money you should have put aside. If you're 30 years old, you should have $30,000 put aside. 40 years old, you should have $40,000 put aside. If you're 35, $35,000 put aside. That's what you should have saved up. Now, in addition to that, you also have your 10%. So let me show you how it works. Let's say that you start working, we'll just say at 25, and you've worked for 25 years. And let's say during that 25 years, you've managed to put, you're doing well, but your average annual pay is about $10,000 a year. So, and we'll just call that your take home. Your average take home over those 25 years, let's just say it's 100. You should have put away 10% of that every year for 25 years and have that all saved up, which means just using simple math, if I have $10,000 a year for 25 years, I should have core investments of at least $250,000 plus the compounding effect of the interest. If you're using our strategies, you're making money in 2 or 3 different ways when you're investing just in the stock market. So you should statistically be doubling that money realistically every, let's just say 7 years at a minimum, and probably closer to 5 years, just using the averages that we've seen. So without breaking much of a sweat, you should have a nice nest egg put aside with core investment. The principal amount that you actually put in there, about $250, which means it's going to have doubled, tripled, quadrupled over the years. It should be a substantial chunk of money and you will be fine. And it's income producing assets because you're following what we're saying in Infinity. It works absolutely like a charm. You'll have a great core investment that is paying you on a monthly basis, which is fantastic. You'll also have the money that you have in your emergency fund set aside, which is fine. We like to do it both. So if I am 45, or let's say that since we use the 25 and 25 years, let's say you're 50, you should have 50,000 put aside in a bank account, interest-bearing account, bonds, CDs, something. And then you should also have your investment account. You do those 2 things. Super simple. To follow the 10% rule and the $1,000 for every year you're on this planet. And I just don't see problems for you. You will have a great, great life not worrying what other people your age are having to worry about, because you'll have put the money aside, like pay it like a bill, and then you don't have to worry about it later. Hey, if you like this type of information, please subscribe to this channel and also like it, and then share it with anybody who you believe could be helped by this information.